Imagine a raindrop falls on a hillside in the Swiss Alps. 50 kilometers away, an identical raindrop falls on the other side of an invisible line. One travels north and east for 2,400 kilometers, ending in the Arctic Ocean near Russia. The other travels south and west for 1,600 kilometers, ending in the Mediterranean Sea near Spain. Same continent, same rain event, completely different destinations. And neither the raindrop nor the person standing there would ever know the difference. This is the Continental Divide, and it's been deciding Europe's destiny for 300 million years. Most people think a continental divide is a mountain range. The Rocky Mountains dividing North America, the Himalayas splitting Asia, a clear, visible spine running through the landscape. But Europe's continental divide is something far stranger. It's not a single mountain. It's not even always high ground. It's an invisible threshold, a mathematical line drawn across the continent where water forgets which ocean it's supposed to reach. And when you trace that line, you realize it has shaped where cities grew, where empires expanded, where trade routes formed, and ultimately, where you are right now on this planet. The line begins in northwestern Spain, near the Cantabrian Mountains. From there, it cuts northeast through the Pyrenees, then continues through the Massif Central in France. It threads through the Swiss Alps, then follows the Black Forest in Germany. From there, it runs northeast through Scandinavia and eventually into the Arctic Ocean. The entire line spans roughly 4,000 kilometers. That's the distance from London to Moscow, a line of demarcation that no human can see, but water finds instantly. Here's where it gets strange. The Continental Divide isn't always the highest point. You might think water simply flows downhill away from the tallest mountains. But that's not how it works. Water flows toward the lowest point in the direction it's already moving. Once a raindrop lands on one side of the divide, it's committed. The watershed has claimed it. It will flow through rivers and tributaries for months or years, eventually reaching the ocean on that side and only that side. Let's follow a specific raindrop. Imagine it falls on a ridge in Switzerland, at 2,400 meters elevation, in the Gotthard Massif. This particular spot is one of the most critical points on the entire European divide. On one side, water flows north into the Rhine River. On the other side, it flows south into the Ticino River. The distance between these two watersheds is sometimes only a few hundred meters. Our raindrop lands on the north-facing slope. Within hours, it's absorbed into the soil. Within days, it's flowing downward through groundwater. Within weeks, it joins a small stream. That stream meets another stream, then another. Each merger means more water, more power, more commitment to a single direction. By the time our raindrop has traveled 200 kilometers, it's part of the Rhine, one of the largest rivers in Europe, carrying 2,300 cubic meters of water per second northward. The Rhine will carry our raindrop through Switzerland, past Germany, through the Netherlands, and eventually into the North Sea. The entire journey takes roughly 3 months. But here's the thing. If our raindrop had landed just 50 meters to the south of where it landed, it would have joined the Ticino River instead. The Ticino flows south into the Adriatic Sea. A 50-meter difference in landing position means our raindrop ends up in a completely different ocean, 1,800 kilometers away, on a completely different schedule. But here's the twist that changes everything. This divide didn't always exist in this location. It's not fixed. It's not permanent. 300 million years ago, during the supercontinent Pangaea, what we now call Europe was arranged completely differently. The continents were in different positions. The oceans covered different lands. The divide was somewhere else entirely. Then, over millions of years, the African and Eurasian plates began colliding. That collision lifted the Alps. It created the Pyrenees. It buckled the landscape and, in doing so, slowly shifted where the water flowed. The Continental Divide moved. Very, very slowly, but it moved. And that movement had consequences. When the divide shifted west, it meant more water flowed toward the Atlantic instead of the Mediterranean. When it shifted east, the reverse happened. Each shift changed which rivers grew larger, which valleys flooded more regularly, which regions became centers of power. Civilizations grew where rivers were abundant. The Romans understood this. They didn't build their greatest cities by accident. Rome itself sits on the Tiber, which flows southeast from the Apennines into the Tyrrhenian Sea. But just 50 kilometers northeast of Rome, rivers flow in completely different directions toward the Adriatic. toward the Black Sea, toward the north. The Continental Divide determined which basins had enough water to support empire, which had enough power to move armies, which had enough trade access to become wealthy. The divide shaped Europe not just geographically, but politically, economically. Here's what most people miss. The Continental Divide isn't a single, unchanging feature of the landscape. It's a threshold that shifts with climate, with glaciation, with the slow movement of continental plates. Right now, in 2024, the divide is in a specific location, but during the last ice age, 20,000 years ago, glaciers covered so much of northern Europe that the divide moved. The path water took was completely different. Rivers that exist today didn't exist then. Rivers that existed then have dried up or changed course. And it's happening again. Not dramatically, not in ways you'd notice in a single lifetime, but the divide is shifting. Climate change is altering precipitation patterns. Where rain falls is changing, which means, slowly, imperceptibly, the divide is moving. Water that currently flows toward the North Sea might, in a few thousand years, flow toward the Mediterranean instead. A raindrop's journey is being rewritten in real time, by forces so slow we can barely measure them, yet so powerful they're reshaping the continent. This is the secret the ocean has been keeping. You are not standing on fixed ground. You are standing on a dynamic system. Every raindrop that falls on you decides your fate. Not consciously, not by choice, but inevitably. That raindrop will travel thousands of kilometers. It will flow through cities you've never heard of, past landscapes you'll never see, toward an ocean you might never visit. And whether it ends in the Arctic or the Mediterranean was determined the moment it landed, by an invisible line that's been moving for 300 million years and will keep moving long after we're gone.